We as Christians have a tendency to take a strong stance against the gay, lesbian, and transgender way of life. On the other side of that, the gay and lesbian community tends to push back equally as hard against us because they view us as a threat to their right to have freedom of choice. What I would like to do today is to tell a story, a hypothetical situation, give you a fictitious scenario. In this scenario, a preacher has gained worldwide recognition for his aggressive stance against gay and lesbian activity. In fact, he's been invited to a week-long conference as, as an opportunity for him to be the keynote speaker on the very topic he has become famous for. You see, Christians look up to him and gays fear and hate him. So he jumps on the opportunity for this conference, and while he's there, he has a little bit of downtime, and he says, I'd like to go exploring the city. While in the city exploring, he gets robbed, mugged, beat, stabbed, and left on the sidewalk, bleeding and unconscious. Several people happen to walk past him while he's laying there, and they do absolutely nothing. Sometime later, a young man is driving across town to meet a wedding planner because it is his intention to get married that weekend in a same-sex ceremony with the love of his life. He happens to see the body laying on the sidewalk. He pulls over quickly, and on closer inspection, he realizes that this is the guy that hates gays. This is the guy who's made a reputation for himself by denouncing everything that he believes in. It's at this point he has to make a conscious decision. And in his decision, he moves to help the preacher who's wounded. He calls 911. He administers first aid. He actually stops the bleeding, dresses the wounds, and he stays with the victim until the emergency responders are on site. He's credited with saving the life of the preacher. Now, when most Christians hear this story, they say that sounds extremely familiar, and it should. The storyline moves very close along the lines of the story that Jesus used in Luke the 10th chapter when he gave us the parable of the Good Samaritan. When Jesus gave us that parable, he gave us quite a bit. But we as Christians, we like to stay on the surface. We don't want to go too deep. We just take it at face value and maybe read a little bit in so that we can get what we want out of it. But we don't want to go deep, because the deeper you go, the more you know. And the more you know, the more you are responsible for. You see, when the average person reads the story of the Good Samaritan, they finish and they say, I get it. I get it. I'm to be good to everyone, and if someone needs help, if they're down and out, I'm to help them. Even if I don't like them, I'm to help them. And I can get with that. I completely understand how people feel good about what they've read and what they intend to do having read that. But you see, a parable is an earthly story that conveys a heavenly concept. I don't exactly believe that the idea of helping people you don't like is a heavenly concept. I think it's an earthly concept that requires a lot of heavenly assistance to complete. You see, before Jesus gave the parable, he actually prefaced it with the most important commandment of all. And that commandment was to love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your mind. The idea here is that you be in an appropriate and good relationship with God. God created us to have a relationship with him. Now, the earthly story that conveys a heavenly concept is this. The man that is laying on the sidewalk, bleeding and dead, near death, he is us. He is you and he is me. The person who's been robbed and beaten and left for dead is you and I. The heavenly concept is the person whom we expect to get our help from doesn't come to help us. Our neighbors really don't come to help us. The person that helps us is the person we've discounted, the person we've looked down on, the person we don't depend on or ever expect to get help from. God is the Samaritan who reaches down and helps us. You see, God created man to have a relationship with him. Relationships are important to God. When we lost that relationship, he paid it all to recover it. You see, he paid it all to win us back to him. In the same way, the Samaritan paid for the recovery of that person on the side of the road. The heavenly concept is that your relationship with God should mirror your relationship with man, because your relationship with man should be a living parable. You should show forth the love of God because you have a relationship with him. In fact, you can say this: if your relationship with God isn't good, your relationship with man is not going to be good either. And if your relationship with man isn't good, your relationship with God isn't good. They both counteract one another. Relationships are important. Love God first with all your heart and with all your soul. And in the case of man, love man like you love yourself. Even if you don't see eye to eye, you must find a way to get past that. They say kill them with kindness. I say crush them with compassion.